It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc. In an era of chaos, confusion, and craziness, Ferenc is a voice for common sense. As a financial literacy educator, speaker, and entrepreneur, Ferenc cuts through the noise to help us understand how current events affect our money, economy, and our freedom. Now, here's Ferenc.
Welcome to the Your Personal Bank Show. This is Ferenc. If you want to contact me, you can do so at yourpersonalbank.com. And yes, you will reach me at yourpersonalbank.com. Well, I have a very special show today. This is something I do annually, and it's changed my life significantly. My annual goal setting show that I do, and I used to teach this to my agents, training over the years. I learned this stuff over 20 years ago, and it really changed my life, my career, my personal life, and in all aspects. And really, it's how to accomplish successful goal setting and the wheel of life, how to improve your life in every area, not just the financial, but the personal, health, you name it. And so I'm going to discuss it. It's going to be a great way to kick off the new year. In fact, it was so popular with my agents over the years that they would request each year, hey, you're going to do the goal setting session again this year for the first meeting of the year. And so we would. So let's go with no further ado. So the first thing I always like to share is what we call the wheel of life. Now, if you're listening, you can go online and look up the wheel of life. You'll see all types of different wheels. This is something that's been around for decades, in fact, and you'll find different categories on these different wheels, but some of them that I like, most of them will have about 8 or 10 categories, if you will, of your life. And you can kind of divide your categories in your life into three major areas. Of course, you have relationships, you have health, you have your work life. And then within those three areas, you could have subcategories, if you so to speak, like with the relationships, obviously romantic ones, family, friends. Those are kind of the big three. Your work life, you can have your career or business, growth, even mission, what it is you want to do. And then with health side, obviously you've got mental health is a big one, and your physical body and your soul. So my point is, you really can divide these up into any number of different areas if you like. But again, it's really quite simple. The thought process is simple. You draw a wheel and you draw spokes in that wheel, and each of the sections kind of look like a piece of the pie, or a slice of pizza. You write in the different areas of your life that are important to you. And everyone's wheel is slightly different, but you want to put in those areas that are important to you. Now, here's the key. Here's the key to success on the wheel of life and understanding how to apply this effectively in your life so that you can indeed make a difference for the future. And it's this. Once you've decided what areas it is, it could be as little as 4 or 5 different areas, as many as a dozen. Usually 6 to 12 is what I find most people find is important that they want to focus on. These are the areas that are important. And the key is this. You want to put a number then beside each one of these areas of your life in, from a 1 to 10 in terms of how successful you feel like you are in that area in your life. So, this is a money focused show, obviously. So, one of the things, an easy one for a lot of people is whether it's your business, career, your money, whatever, how are you feeling? Where are you at in terms of your money, your income? Or, are you a 5? Do you have room for growth? Are you an 8 or 9? You're good to go. Or you're 1 or 2 because you need more money. Most of us have been at different points at different in our lives at different points of our lives, different numbers, if you know what I'm saying. The key is to apply a number to each of those areas. And the real key is you got to be honest with yourself. Only you know where you are and where you compared to where you want to be in each of these areas of your life. So, with your health, 1 to 10, where are you at health wise? 1 to 10, where are you at money wise? Where are you at with your relationships? If it might be with your spouse or significant other, with your family, with your friends. Put a number by each one of these things. And then here's how you understand whether you're doing well in life or whether your life is in balance or out of balance and whether there's stress or not, is you kind of draw a circle around each of these points. So if you've got if you had 5s all the way around, for example, you notice if you drew a point to point all the way around, you'd have a fairly smooth circle. And by the way, that's the key to balance, is having your life being roughly similar. In other words, your health, if your health is a 5 and your money is a 5, you're going to find you're not going to have a lot of stress. Now, you may not be where you want to be, frankly, but you're not going to be a highly stressful life because everything's pretty well in balance. Where things get out of balance, oh, by the other point is if everything's a 2, okay, you have a low stress life, but you got a really really small wheel, you're not going to get very far in life very fast. You're going to be going down with a really small wheel, not going down the path of life very far. You're not going to get very far, if you know what I'm saying. So a person with a lot of 2s or 3s might want to work on focusing on increasing some of those areas so you can make your wheel bigger so you can go farther, you can get more accomplished, get to where you want to be. Now, what most people have, this is what I find. Most people have stress, challenges, frustrations in their lives. And to identify what those are, this wheel of life, that's what it's so great at doing, is really identifying what places are a problem. So let me use an example. Let's say, you know, your health is an 8, but your money is a 2. Obviously, you can see really quickly if you drew a line on there that you would have it would look like a flat tire, right? Because you got a really low spot, you got some other areas that are really great. Well, that's what causes stress. That's what causes challenges. You have a real weakness in your life. And if you go down the road on a flat tire, we all kind of know what that feels like. It's a pretty bumpy ride, isn't it? And so, what I'm trying to say is, whatever area of your life that is challenging or not doing so well, is a really low number, say, compared to many of the others, that's your point of stress. The key to success is identifying what that is. You can't fix a problem until you know what it is, right? You've got to identify the challenge in your life. We're all different. And by the way, at different points in our lives can be different. I think most of us, anyone who has maybe a little gray hair, can relate to this. You've had times in your life when you had very little money, and you've had times in your money while you're probably doing just really fine, money wise, or health wise, or relationship wise, or spiritually wise, any of those areas, right? We all can kind of look at that and see where, yeah, we've been doing really well or not so well in some of these areas. So again, being honest with yourself is key to success on this, is really and this, the key to the wheel of life is it doesn't solve your problems. What it does is it helps you identify where the problems are, where the challenges are. Now, let me give you a few thoughts on this. First of all, it's unrealistic. Let's say you're not happy with several different areas of your wheel. It's unrealistic to expect that you're going to improve a bunch of areas of your life really quickly. You're not going to move from a 2 to a 7 or 8, let's say, in a year or less, even, in short periods of time, especially in most cases, especially in multiple areas of your life at the same time. The key to success is setting reasonable, reachable goals, not overly challenging. You don't want to set to improve where it's too easy, but again, you don't want to have it so out of reach it's unrealistic. It's got to be a challenge, but reachable, challenging to accomplish, a stretch, but yet you could see, hey, if things went well, you really applied yourself, you could get there. And what you want to do is maybe if you have a 2 in your life, try to move it to a 3 or a 4 and really focus on that area for a while, maybe for a few months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year even, depending on how much deficit you have in that area in particular. And again, being a money focused show, it's easy to discuss that type of thing. I've had these discussions with many clients over the years, for example, where their money is their challenge, income. They need more income. Well, you can generally, if you think about it, most people have the ability to increase their income. The last few years have been challenging with inflation and all those kinds of things. So a lot of folks are dealing with and facing that kind of thing. So what have they done? Taken on a part-time job, or taken on some extra side work, or doing something, expanding in their business or whatever that would expand or increase their income. Now, here's what I want you to understand. It's not necessarily something that you would have to do permanently. Like this one couple came to mind I worked with a few years ago. where they were having some income challenges because they had some debt. They had a little bit extra debt. Well, what do? We discussed it and found out that for like 6 months he could take on some overtime work at his job, and that would allow him to then pay off the debt. Now he was very, very strong into family and stuff like that, family time. He had kids growing up. I get all that, and that was important. But one of the things I shared with him was this, and the key thing was, if finances were the challenge, like that was in their case, from the debt needed some more income, he determined if he took on some part-time work for about 6 months, they could pay that off. So this wasn't a permanent change that needed to be made. It was a temporary change. Obviously, the extra debt, lack of income was causing some stress with him and his wife and the family and all that. And that's another part of the key of successful goal setting, which I'm going to get into in the next segment, is getting the family on board. I recommended he had a family meeting. His kids were old enough to understand this and say, hey, dad's got to work some extra hours for a while to take care of some debt, but this isn't permanent. And then we're going to solve it. And then once we solve it, we're going to go do something fun as a reward. And of course, his family got on board with him, his wife, because at first he was concerned, well, my wife's not going to be keen on me working extra hours and all that. But I said, look, if you explain the reason why, then you'd be surprised how quickly people get on board with that. So it was really cool. They did that. He worked the extra hours for about 6 months. He got the debt paid off, and then they took a family trip. They went camping or something. They had some fun as a reward. And he said it was one of the most rewarding things he ever did with his family. Because the last thought on this I want to say is to get back in balance. Remember this wheel, having all your parts of your life on that wheel being relatively equal is what gives you a balanced low stress life. I'm not going to say stress free, but lower stress life. But sometimes when you're out of balance, you have to go intentionally out of balance for a while to get back in balance. So like in this gentleman's case, his situation, he had to work some extra hours to make up the extra money to pay off the debt because, well, they got out of balance on their finances, right? Now, you can apply this to health if you're out of shape. I mean, the health industry is a multi-billion-dollar annual industry. Let me save you a bunch of money. It's diets and all that stuff. None of that stuff really works. What does work, and we all know this deep down, is if you eat right, exercise, and get some rest, you will get healthier. You will lose some weight. You will feel better. You'll gain more energy. It's that simple. Now, setting the goals to get that accomplished, I understand, or what the challenge is, which is what we're going to discuss in this next segment. So I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned. I think you'll find it very interesting.
Stay tuned for more common sense from Ferenc. For more information, contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc Toth. Want more information? Contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Now back to the show with Ferenc Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. This is Ferenc. If you want to reach me, you can do so at yourpersonalbank.com. Yes, you will reach me. Again, that's yourpersonalbank.com. And I just want to say, if you're watching this or listening, of course, you can go back to this or any of the previously recorded shows, either on our website or our app, Your Personal Bank. So I encourage you to check it out. Today, again, I'm doing something very special, and that's the annual goal setting session I do to kick off the year. I've been doing this for over 20 years. It was widely, it was well in demand. My agents would always ask me, hey, are you going to do the goal setting section again this year? And this was how it became a tradition. We'll put it that way. And so I started sharing this on the radio 5 or 6 years ago. Same thing. I've had a number of people reach out to me as I share this. They love it. Highly encourage you. Again, if you missed the first segment, I really discussed what we call the Wheel of Life. And you can look this up online, Wheel of Life, and you'll find it's a very common kind of thing. But really what it does is it helps you really identify the areas of your life that are important, and really helps you identify what needs to be worked on to get your life back in balance, to reduce your stress if you have a stressful life, or if you are pretty good but want to move to a better position, how best to do that. So again, if you missed it, go to yourpersonalbank.com or the Your Personal Bank app, and you can check that out, the first segment. What I'm going to really discuss more about in this next segment now is successful goal setting. Again, the wheel of life is not going to help you accomplish any goals. What the wheel of life does is helps you identify what area of my life do I need to work on to improve to get my life back in balance. Do I need to improve my finances? Do I need to improve my health? Do I need to improve my relationships or any of those kinds of things in there? It really helps you identify, if you know what I'm saying, pinpoint the area. And again, it's unrealistic to expect you're gonna, let's say you're weak in all three of those. I hope that isn't the case. It's unrealistic to expect you're going to improve significantly all three of those areas all at once. It's just not going to happen. You really want to identify the area of greatest weakness and see what you can do to focus. If it's, say, you have a 2 or a 3 in one of those areas, how do I move it up to a 3 or a 4? You're not going to move from a 2 or 3 to a 7 or 8 overnight or even in a short period of time. These things take time. And so one of the reasons why why so many people fail at setting goals. Yes, we have things we want to accomplish. Most of us do. We set goals, and in the beginning of the year, New Year's resolutions are very popular. Yet studies show that well over 90% of people fail at their New Year's resolutions within the first few weeks. The failure rate is tremendous. But instead of having a New Year's resolution, which frankly is nothing more than I wish this would happen, or I could do that. How do you successfully accomplish goals to improve your situation and improve who you are as a person? And there's really 4 steps to successful goal setting. And I know you've heard this before, but step 1 is writing it down. The Bible talks about this. Nearly every positive thinking book you could ever read will tell you this over and over again. Writing down your goals is paramount. It's not a goal. You can't even call it a goal unless you actually have it written down somewhere. And not only written down somewhere, but somewhere where you can see it. You would see it frequently. Now, back in the day, we would teach people to write their goals on things like their bathroom mirror and stuff like that. And that's not a bad idea. But today, with people with their phones and computers, they're on them so much, that might be a good place, on your desktop. So you would just see it, or right on your phone, what you see, and quickly reminded, what is this goal you want? Now, again, setting goals is tricky. You have to set a goal that's challenging enough to be worth the effort, you have to inspire yourself a little bit. So it's got to be challenging enough that you're going to put some effort into it, but it's worth it. But yet it has to be reachable. In other words, it can't be so far out there that it would be next to impossible to accomplish, because most likely you're going to get frustrated somewhere along the way, and you're going to fail. You're going to fail at that goal. Well, one of the things you can do to help figure out what's a reachable goal is having a mentor or an accountability partner, somebody that knows you really, really well. That could be a spouse or a loved one. It could be a parent. It could be, again, a mentor, somebody that knows you personally really well. And maybe you can bounce that idea off of them. Hey, I was thinking about setting this as a goal. Do you think that is realistic for me? Is it reachable? I think the key word is it reachable? You want to make it a stretch, yet be reachable. Again, it's got to be in that zone in between the two. Too easy, and you're just going to probably say, it's not worth it, and give up. Too hard, you're going to get frustrated and give up. Both ways you'll fail. It's got to be in that zone of reachability. You got to be able to reach it, okay? Now, the next step, again, this is that one many people fail at. Oh, by the way, one last thought on the writing it down. There was a famous study done some years ago of Harvard graduates, and it was interesting where they shared, I'm generalizing here, but the bottom line is that something like 3% of the graduates had written goals when they graduated, 97% did not, and something like 20, 30, 40 years later, I forget the time frame, when they went back and looked at the group that wrote the goals down, had 97% of the net worth of the entire graduating class versus the 97% that did not write their goals down. Writing your goals down, it gives it tremendous power. It gives it a realness. It makes it real, solid, concrete. Otherwise, again, if you don't write a goal down, it's nothing more than a wish. You're just kidding yourself. It's a New Year's resolution. It's a wish. It's a hope. It's a dream, but it's not real. It's not a goal. Write it down. Now, step 2, where a lot of people fail, is create an action plan. Again, a financial goal is easier to put together an action plan on. A health goal can be too, actually. Relationship goals, that's a little more nebulous, but it could be something like, hey, you set up a date night weekly with significant other. You can set concrete action plans with any goal you want to set. If it's a health goal, obviously, if you decide you want to exercise, you want to go ride a bike or hit the gym or go for a walk or whatever it may be, or you want to start eating certain types of foods and stop eating other types of foods and make sure you start getting the right amount of sleep and things like that. Those are specific action steps you can take to improve your health. You can do the same thing with money, finances, career, business, that type of thing. One of the things I used to do, of course, I was, in the sales, and sales is very goal oriented type of business. There's a lot of self motivation that's required for anyone that's in the sales field. And by the way, if you're self employed, you're in sales. You have to be at least be able to sell your idea, communicate your product, your service, your business. You have to be able to sell your business. And even if you're in a career, to be successful, you got to sell your employer at least that your capability and that you're a good employee. So we're all, in some respects, some people kind of look down on sales, but the reality is sales is nothing more than effective communication. And whether, again, you have a job, a career, a business, or you're truly in what many would define as a sales position, we all are salespeople. We have to effectively communicate to be successful at what we do. All right, that's a key thing. As I stated, action plan I had early in my career was, for example, making 1 sale a week versus 2 versus 3 sales a week with new clients. For me, 1 was barely getting by, 2 was doing all right, and 3 we were doing fine. And one of the things you have to do with the action plan. So what I did is I basically reverse engineered how many sales did I want to make for the year, then divided up by month and week. And so I tracked it by week. You have to do it in a short enough time frame that you have measurable goals. For me, weekly was the right time frame. Depending on what you do, it could be monthly, it could be even daily, depending on what it is that you do, or what you're, like a health goal. It could be so many times a week you go to the gym, for example. Quite simple, quite straightforward. But then with that action plan comes step 3, is the reward system. Without the reward system, it's highly, highly unlikely you're going to succeed in your action plan. And I'm going to discuss this more in the next segment. But what I want you to understand is why the reward system is so important is psychological. Remember making a change. One of the things that my naturopath shared with me was interesting when he was discussing like exercising and getting in better shape or better health. He said the human body naturally, let's say you start exercising, you haven't been for a while, and this is why most people fail, by the way. The human body will actually resist you for about the first 2 months. So in other words, if you decide you're going to go ride your bike or go for walks or hit the gym or whatever it is you're going to do, and you're going to do this 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a week, whatever that may be, you can be faithful in accomplishing that for the first 2 months, and you will see little or no change to your physical body, your muscles, all that kind of stuff. And the reason behind it is your body settles in, and this is human nature, whether it's a relationship or a career, money, we settle into a comfort zone. Human beings, we get really we like being in that comfort zone, whatever we get used to. We easily get into there, and then we kind of like to stay there. So you can start exercising and be very faithful with it and doing the right thing and all that good stuff. And 2 months later, you're going to see little or no change. Again, your human body is saying, hey, this isn't real. This is temporary. We're going to fight it. And it will do everything it can to fight the change. But as he pointed out, once you get to month 3, that's when you start to see significant change, because now the human body says, oh my gosh, I guess this is really a change. We need to adapt to that. We need to build some muscle. We need to do whatever we need to do to make the difference. So whatever your habit is, it doesn't matter what the habit is. I've heard some people, you'll hear this say, mental health experts talk about you can create a new habit for 21 days in a row. It's that kind of thing. So whether it's quitting smoking or eating healthier or whatever, you do that for 21 days in a row, you can tend to start breaking an old habit or creating a new one. By the way, when you break an old habit, you always want to replace it with something new that's better, healthier, whatever, more positive, because otherwise you create a void and your subconscious will replace it with something else. Again, we're going to get into the next segment. I'm running out of time in this one about the reward system. But again, this is key. This is step 3 to successful goal setting. Without it, you're not going to be successful. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned for more common sense from Ferenc. For more information, contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc Toth. Want more information? Contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Now back to the show with Ferenc Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. This is Ferenc. You can reach me at yourpersonalbank.com. Yes, you will reach me. Again, it's yourpersonalbank.com. Again, we're sharing a very special show today. It's my annual goal setting and wheel of life, how to successfully accomplish goals. Again, this is something I've been sharing for over 20 years. It was life-changing for me. And many of my agents that I trained over the years, which I trained well over 100 financial agents and advisors throughout my career, I should say. And this was always one of the most popular discussions I would have. It became an annual tradition that my agent sales force used to look forward to. And then I've kind of started sharing this on the radio, and again have had much of the same positive response. So again, a great way to kick off the year, how to be successful at goal setting. If you miss the first couple segments, this is a show that really does build on itself. So jumping into the middle is helpful, don't get me wrong, but some of this is not going to be as effective, or you're not going to understand. If you don't understand the foundation of the wheel of life and helping to understand what areas of your life are a challenge or need to be improved upon, the successful goal setting that we then build on in the second and now third segments we're in will be less effective. So I really do encourage you, if you missed it, go to yourpersonalbank.com or the Your Personal Bank app, and you can listen to this or any of the previously recorded shows, by the way. But go back and listen to the first parts of it, and then what you're hearing me share now will actually make more sense and be more effective and more likely for you to be successful, because that's the point of this whole show. Most of us have goals. It's the beginning of the year. It's a great time to kind of assess where you've been, where you want to go. A lot of us do that, including myself. I would love nothing more to see you set and then accomplish some goals. And by the way, I've gotten this happen in previous years, of course. I really encourage you, hey, down the road, a few months down the road, or even towards the end of this year, I would love it if you shared with me, hey, I set a goal. I heard this show. I follow what you were sharing. You inspired me to set some goals. Write it down, set up an action plan, a reward system, which I'm going to discuss further here. And then the last step, having an accountability partner. But I set this goal, I accomplished it, and thank you for, getting me started, if you know what I mean. And hey, I would love nothing more to hear from you about that, any goals you were successful at. All right, so we've discussed in goal setting, you got to write it down. If you don't write it down, it's not a goal, it's just a wish, it's just a hope, it's a New Year's resolution, it's not real, and there's a super high likelihood it just isn't going to happen, okay? Step 2 is the action plan. You got to set up a specific action plan, daily, weekly, monthly, annually. What are you going to do to accomplish this goal? And it's got to be a reachable goal, of course. Something is a stretch, but you can reach. And what are you going to do day by day, week by week, month by month to accomplish this? Okay. Now, once you've done those two things, now you need to set up a reward system. So, a reward system is super important. And this is the part that I find most people miss and is a big part of why they fail at accomplishing their goals. And it's this, as I was saying at the end of the last segment, if you're trying to create a new habit, you're trying to change something in your life, you're getting out of the comfort zone, you're trying to make it better, whether it's your health, your relationships, your money, whatever it may be. You subconsciously are in a comfort zone, whether you realize it or not, or like it or not. Our subconscious is a powerful thing. And to change that, you've got to be consistent. You've got to you got to be purposeful, like I said, and consistent with this. And then you've got to reward. You got to set a reward and then reward yourself to get that subconscious on board. And that's when things start to really change for the better. And let me give you an example. So I had an agent of mine, and I love telling this story. It was so powerful. He had been in the insurance business for 20 years prior to meeting and working with me. And I shared this with him, and it really struck him, and it was impactful. But the thing he had never done, and he always, like most people, had set goals, struggled with them most of the time, failed most of the time. He'd accomplished some of them, certainly. He wasn't, most of us have accomplished some of our goals or improvements, but we fail probably more than we accomplish. But he says, I never applied the reward system. So he had set a goal where if he did a certain number of sales in a week, he and his wife would go out to dinner. And if he made like one sale a week, it was like, well, it was fast food. It was nothing much. If they made two sales, they could go somewhere, decent place, average, like an Applebee's kind of, you know what I'm saying? Average kind of place. Okay. And if he did three, they would go somewhere nice. And him and his wife, that was something they really enjoyed doing. So this was a weekly goal that he set. And then he set a quarterly goal for the family. He had kids that were old enough that they wanted to go to Vegas for a long weekend. And the first thing he did is he set the goals, and he did this. In the first few weeks, he was doing really well. He was making 2-3 sales a week most of the time. His wife was happy. They were going to decent or nice places every week. And in fact, he said what was interesting, he found is it got her on board really quick. She was like, he goes, I'd be sitting at home, and if I wasn't on the phone or meeting somebody, the wife would say to me, well, what are you doing today? Why are you sitting around? Don't you have somebody to talk to or call? Or because, well, she wanted to go out to eat to somewhere nice, right? So he said that kind of got him some real motivation whenever he kind of would feel lazy or didn't feel like doing it. That got him up and going, right? And then he made the quarterly goal that he had set, and they were supposed to go take the family on a Vegas trip. And he said to me, I made the goal, but we're kind of busy, money's a little tight, and I think we'll do it next time. I said, don't you dare. I said, you set the goal, you accomplished the goal. You set the reward, and it was a reasonable reward for what he had done. And I said, you now need to fulfill that reward. He's like, why? I said, well, if you don't do it, your subconscious mind is going to say, hey, wait a minute. We got on board for the last 3 months. We set this goal, we set this reward, and we did it. And then you're pulling the rug out on us. So your subconscious is going to fight you, and you're going to go right back to where you were, if not worse, with your habits and everything else. So he listened, to his credit, and took the family on the Vegas trip. Now here's what he said to me afterwards, which was really interesting. So they're driving home. They'd had a great time, and the kids started asking him, "Hey, when's the next time we're going to go to Vegas, Dad, or do something fun like this?" And he goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm started something." So they made plans as they're driving home to do something similar, fun like that, the next quarter. What happened, and he did the next 4 quarters, he accomplished each of his goals. He told me at the end of that year, it was the best year in his over 20-year career in the insurance field. This stuff works, folks. The key is you've got to follow the steps, follow through, be consistent, set the goals, set the reachable goal, set the action plan, set a reasonable reward system, and then when you do get the reward, follow through. Okay? It's just that simple. Tells your subconscious, hey, we do this, we sacrifice, we get to get this reward. And then after a while, it just becomes part of your new routine, and you'll quickly find that your wheel of life, in his case, finances was his weakness. Suddenly your weakness starts getting stronger to where sometimes it can even become your strong point. It can move from the weak point, in his case, in about a year from his weak point to a strong point. So you need to start focusing on some other areas. Kind of interesting how that works. Now, the last step on goal setting, remember, write it down, action plan, reward system. The fourth step is this, an accountability partner. Now, I kind of shared that a little bit in that story here where you bring on board somebody that you respect, somebody that you care about. Now, it can be your significant other, your spouse. It could be friend, family member. It could be a mentor. And this is also where, again, I find most people miss successful goal setting because they don't set up a reward system. But I think what most people I find is this is the one they're most reluctant to do. And the reason is quite simple. Why most people are reluctant to bring on an accountability partner for their goals that they've set is, well, now it gets real. Now it's more than, hey, I'd like to do this, I'd hope to do this, I wish to do this. Now it starts becoming real because there's something on the line, if you know what I'm saying. Especially if it's somebody with you respect, you care about, because you don't want to disappoint. Most of us, we don't want to disappoint those people. So you're now putting yourself out there. You're putting yourself out there. You're putting yourself on the line. And then that's a commitment, no question. It's a little scary. I understand. But what I want you to understand is the rewards are well worth it, far more worth it, because what you're worried about is you don't want to disappoint that person. I get it. And you might fail. Folks, here's the deal. You could do every step along the way here. You could do it properly. You may still not succeed at your goal. I want you to understand something. There's no 100%. There's no guarantee you're going to accomplish your goal. But have you ever heard that saying where, well, if you shot for the stars and you hit the moon, at least you move forward? You may not accomplish your goal. Maybe your goal that you set, as I stated at the beginning, it needs to be reachable. Well, maybe you overreached a little. Maybe you did everything you could do, but it wasn't quite there. And what I want you to understand is that accountability partner is not going to be disappointed in you. You're not going to let them down if you did indeed put in the effort, and you made a good faith effort. So don't be worried so much about putting yourself on the line, putting yourself out there with that accountability partner, with that person you care about or respect, because what they're going to respect is, hey, they're going to respect your effort. Your efforts in trying to make a difference, improving your life, and doing better. And yes, of course, you want to accomplish that goal. We all do. And if you follow these steps, I can tell you this, your chances, your odds of succeeding are far, far greater than not doing all of these steps. That's a fact, plain and simple. But there is no 100%. There is no panacea out there where you're going to accomplish it every time, because stuff happens. And I guess that's what I want to finish on here in the next segment. I'm encourage you. What do you do when things happen? What do you do when life hits you? We're going to discuss that in the next segment, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned for more common sense from Ferenc. For more information, contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc Toth. Want more information? Contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Now back to the show with Ferenc Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. This is Ferenc. You can reach me at yourpersonalbank.com. Yes, you will reach me. Again, it's yourpersonalbank.com. Again, this is a very special, successful goal-setting show. This is something I do annually. Been doing for over 20 years for my agents, over 5-6 years now on the radio. I've gotten more positive feedback from this this became an annual tradition with my agents. They loved it. And they would always ask, are you going to do this again? The same kind of thing has happened with the radio show. I really appreciate the feedback. But I do want to say that a bit of caution on this. This is really something you have to kind of build on from the beginning, from identifying the challenges, the area of your life that's challenged you want to improve, using the wheel of life, and then the 4 steps to successful goal setting, writing it down, action plan, reward system, and accountability partner. If you've missed any of this, because I know a lot of people listen to the radio or watching on the video, will catch different parts, go back to the beginning, or if it's listening on the radio, go to yourpersonalbank.com or the Your Personal Bank app. I strongly encourage you to do that because you can listen to this or any of the previously recorded shows, by the way, anytime you like. Each has its own topic. I think you'll find it very interesting. So we've discussed all the different things, like I said earlier, the wheel of life, identifying what areas of our life do we want to improve upon. Is it financial, relationship, health-wise, or something else? We've discussed the 4 steps of goal setting. Write it down. Again, if you don't write it down, it ain't a goal, it's a wish. Action plan. How do you get this done? A reward system. How do you reward yourself, both short and long term, when you accomplish your goals? And then an accountability partner, which again is probably the scariest part, but is every bit as important as any of the others. And that person, if they truly care about you, are not going to be disappointed in you if you fail in your goal. In fact, if anything, they're going to lift you up and help you maybe accomplish that goal the next time because something went wrong. And that's what I want to discuss about now. What happens when you set up the goal? You write it down. You have the action plan. You have the reward system. You're doing everything you're supposed to do. You have the accountability partner, and it just doesn't happen, or life gets in the way. Stuff happens, right? Life happens. If you've got a health goal, I had a few years ago, I had a health goal, and then I had an e-bike accident. I was working out, starting to exercise, getting back in shape, broke my wrist. 6 screws in it. Not a fun situation. Obviously, I couldn't use my right hand, and it hurt, obviously, quite a bit for months. It was a year before I really had it rehabbed. And so I wasn't exercising anywhere nearly as much as before. I wasn't able to. That was a setback. Obviously, you can have those kinds of setbacks financially or in your relationships, in all different parts of your life. Stuff's going to happen. Crap happens. All right. What do you do? Well, I guess the first thing you have to do is determine, is this something that could have been avoided? Can you learn from it? You don't want to dwell on it. I can tell you one thing, I don't ride e-bikes anymore. So what did I learn from my accident? I'm not an e-bike rider, and because I went flying head over heels, and now I ride a recumbent trike because I don't want a handlebar to fly over. So I learned a lesson from this as something I just don't want to do. I'm not saying other people shouldn't do it. It's just not for me, right? And now I ride a trike. And guess what? Working on getting back in shape again, and I'm doing a lot better than I was before. That's an easy lesson to learn. So again, whether it's a financial or relationship one, again, is this something that you can avoid in the future? Obviously, don't do it again. Don't repeat the same mistake over again. That's stupid. But sometimes things happen to you you have no control over. You take a business or a job, let's say the economy takes a turn. We've certainly seen that in the last few years. We had COVID shutdowns. We've had a high inflation for a number of years. What if your company goes under? Or what if your business you own goes under? Or your job goes away? So sometimes stuff just happens. Listening to a sermon and all of this, it's so important to understand what the source of the problem is. Like somebody was saying, well, they, blaming the devil for this or that. A great example was, blaming the devil for getting a speeding ticket on your way to church. Well, that's kind of silly because we're blaming God or the devil or whatever. No, the reality is you were speeding and it was your own dumb actions that led to that situation. Take responsibility where it's due. But even then, sometimes, again, there's stuff that happens we just have no control over. That's life. Stuff happens. If that's the case, then you have to reassess. Maybe the goal you set isn't realistic or reachable at this point because the economy took a turn, or the business went under, or you lost your job. Okay, now you have a different priority. You have a different goal, don't you? Or like I said, in my case, with the health one, breaking my wrist, I was working on exercising, getting in better shape. Well, that wasn't realistic for a while. My goal at that point was rehabilitating it, right? You have to change the goal. You have to change. So you can't be so rigid that if you set a goal and an action plan, reward system, all that, that you don't change when circumstances require it. Now, don't use it as an excuse. Because some people say, "Oh, it's too hard. I'm going to reset." No, no, no. No, if you set a realistic, reachable goal and nothing significant has changed, stick with it. But again, identify if something has really systemically changed through your fault or through no fault of yours or otherwise, then reset the goal, reset a new one, write it down, have an action plan, create a reward system for that new goal, and discuss it with your accountability partner. We have to recognize the reality that life happens. So, to summarize, if you want to improve your life in some area, go to the wheel of life. Again, if you're listening or watching, you can go online, look up Wheel of Life. You'll see many, many of those. Pick, 6 to 12 areas of your life that are important to you and rate yourself 1 to 10 on them. And again, that'll identify where are the weaknesses in your life, where should you focus, and to get yourself in balance. And then set up the goal setting session, write it down, action plan, reward, accountability partner. And the last thought I'm going to leave you with is any of you that do these things and you accomplish some goals or have some success, or even if you have a failure but you've reset it, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at ferenc@yourpersonalbank.com, or you can contact me at yourpersonalbank.com website. I'd love to hear about stories from people and what they've accomplished. That's the purpose of this show today, is to encourage people to become a better version of themselves if they're so inclined of doing that. Last thoughts I want to leave with you here is I'm going to continue. One of my goals with this show has been to educate people on ways that they may not be familiar with in the financial world, options that are available outside of just, most people, they think, well, I can put money in the stock market. Maybe you could invest in real estate, maybe some cryptos or maybe some precious metals. But other than that, what else is there? Well, you can invest safely, insured, guaranteed, tax-free, highly liquid. You can create positive arbitrage. You can invest like bankers. You can love banks or hate them. I don't really care, but we can agree that they're savvy about money. We can learn from them. You can learn how to increase the returns on your money. You can learn how to increase the liquidity of your money. You can learn how to reduce the market risk. One of the number one mistakes the average investor makes, and this is from my college certified financial literacy course, it would state that most investors take far more risk than they really should or need to or realize even. Most institutional investors, folks, do not take on the kind of risk that the people that are listening to me right now are. They just don't. And yet, we can agree they're savvy about money and we can learn from them. Another thing I'm going to share with you that's I think is going to be important going forward is most people are familiar somewhat at least with the stock market. Well, I'm going to tell you that over probably the next decade, the bond market is going to be the driver of investments, the economy, and various things far more than the stock market because of the level of debt we have. I'm going to encourage you maybe to set a goal to learn more about the bond market and how that works, because that's where the institutional investors go. Now, most people don't invest in the bond market because of the amount of money you need to do so, and the average American just doesn't have that. But you can take advantage of what the bond market is doing with higher dividends, higher interest rates, higher for longer. We're hearing that from the Federal Reserve. Things that most people maybe are not as familiar with, I'm going to encourage you to probably get familiar with, because many of the experts are already saying this decade is going to be the golden age. We're in the golden age of fixed assets. And then again, that's dividends, high cash value insurance policies, annuities even. And folks, it's the best time in over 42 years to invest in an annuity or dividend paying policy or guaranteed lifetime income. What if you don't have a pension? Would you like one? If you have a pension and you wish it would pay you more, would you like to increase the amount of money you would receive guaranteed for the rest of your life? Are you concerned about running out of money before you run out of time? I know that's the number one concern of most retirees. These are all things that can be accomplished, but folks, it's not going to be accomplished by the way most people have been investing their money, let's say for the last decade or two. And there's many, many analysts, whether it's Blackrock, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, we're all coming out with projections of the S&P 500 averaging 3 to 5% over the next decade. And a significant correction is very likely because of the incredible rise over the last couple of years. And you look at historicals and you look at PE ratios and all the other things that go into this, I think they're right. What if they are right? If these analysts are correct, then fixed assets, dividend-paying insurance policies, annuities, guaranteed lifetime income are going to outperform the S&P 500 over the next decade. And wouldn't it be ironic that if you had the opportunity to invest in something that's insured, guaranteed, safe, even tax-free, even highly liquid, and you made a higher return on that than continuing to put your money at risk and having a lower return? Wouldn't that be ironic? In the guaranteed lifetime income, you can get up to a 30% bonus right off the gate. You can defer it and earn up to 14% annual increase on your money. In other words, you're going to get 14% more income each year that you defer. Those are incredible numbers, incredible increases, where if you've had some gains, you could take advantage of it, take the money off the table, and create a guaranteed lifetime income you cannot outlive that would be significantly higher than likely continue to invest it, continue to have it at risk, according to the analysts. As always, I'm going to encourage you this year to stay tuned to the Your Personal Bank show. Go to the website or the app, Your Personal Bank, if you missed any of the previously recorded shows. And as long as it's on our money, in God we trust.
Listen Tuesdays at noon and Saturdays at 1 to the Your Personal Bank show for more information. Contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guests of this program do not engage in legal, accounting, or tax advice. Professional advice regarding your situation should be sought if required. Some products discussed may have limitations and not be available in all states. Excessive unpaid loans may affect performance. Distributions may become taxable if not managed properly. Replacements may not be suitable for everyone. There may be charges when replacing coverage. Dividend rates and bank line of credit rates may change. For current rates, contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. Again, that's 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com.